Okay, huge win for borrowers as student loan forgiveness resumes for millions. Let's get into it. So this is on the Forbes website. You can access it just by going to Forbes.com. And it was written by an attorney, Adam Minsky. But this is what it speaks about. It says student loan borrowers scored a major victory on Friday as the Department of Education agreed to resolve a legal challenge by resuming student loan forgiveness that had been halted for millions. The department also agreed to take steps to shield borrowers from looming tax liability associated with having their student loans discharged. The Trump administration and the American Federation of Teachers, a national teachers union, announced the joint agreement in a court filing on Friday. If you haven't been keeping up with the lawsuit against the Department of Education, let me show you how you can access the information. Basically, you just go to Google and you can type in AFT versus the Department of Education. And it will get you to the first thing that pops up is court listener, and this is where it'll give you a all the information about the lawsuit starting from when the complaint was first initiated back on the 18th of March. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, because this is what this article is in reference to, there was a status report or an agreement between the American Federation of Teachers and the Department of Education that was entered in on the 17th of October. And this is where you can actually read the document and it tells you everything that they have agreed to. So just hit that download PDF and it will bring the information up for you, okay? We'll come back to this in just a second. All right, let's go back to the article. So this is a tremendous win for borrowers. With today's filings, borrowers can rest a little easier knowing that they won't be unjustly hit with a tax bill once their student loans are finally canceled. Pursuant to federal law, the Department of Education has agreed to follow the law and deliver congressionally mandated affordable payments and debt relief to hardworking public service workers across the country and will do so under court supervision. And this is what the latest developments means for student loan forgiveness and what borrowers should expect in the coming weeks and months. So it gets into the lawsuit where the lawsuit challenged blocked student loan forgiveness and looming tax liability. The unexpected agreement between the AFT and the Trump administration resolves a legal challenge that the union filed against the department earlier this spring, originally over massive delays associated with IDR application. The AFT had argued that these delays were preventing borrowers from accessing congressionally mandated student loan forgiveness under income-driven repayment plans and public service loan forgiveness or PSLF. Last month, the union amended its complaint. That is where you can actually see when you go back into the complaint, you can go back up and you can actually see up in September where the complaint was where it was amended. And that's right here on September the 9th. You can go back and read that. A lot of information there. Okay, the Department of Education was illegally blocking student loan forgiveness under multiple IDR plans, including ICR, PAYE, and IBR. The American Federation of Teachers argued that loan forgiveness was only legally blocked for borrowers enrolled in the SAVE plan. And when you read that amended complaint, it goes even further into just going more into details about what the Department of Education was doing by enjoining ICR, pay as you earn, and income-based repayment into the SAVE litigation. They were blocking borrowers' access to forgiveness that they are legally supposed to have access to, but they were enjoining those plans into the SAVE injunction as well. And that's where that amended complaint came into play. The AFT also contended in this amendment that the department was improperly rejecting IDR application, dragging its feet and expanding access to IBR plan following changes to the program made under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That's more or less with the income-based repayment, with the implementation of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. For those who qualified, in order to qualify for income-based repayment, you had to have a partial financial hardship. And that was something that was removed. That was no longer a qualifying factor if you enrolled into the income-based repayment, but borrowers were having trouble with enrolling into income-based repayment because this one partial, the partial financial hardship technically had not been removed. So there was things that needed to be updated and systems for borrowers to get access to, but it was actually, they were rejecting, their applications were being rejected because of this system error or failure. All right, and failing to adequately process applications for student loan forgiveness under the PSLF buyback program, which allows borrowers to make a lump sum payment so that disqualified periods of deferment or forbearance can count toward eventual student loan forgiveness. The AFT filed an emergency motion requesting immediate intervention by the court because of looming tax liability under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Student loan forgiveness under all IDR plans has been tax-free for the last 4 years, but that relief is set to end on December 31st. So what this basically is about is with the Department of Education and just the slow processing of applications, slow processing of forgiveness For student loan borrowers under the American Rescue Plan Act, as of December 31st, if I'm not mistaken, 2021, from that date up until loans that were canceled prior to January 1st, 2026, then borrowers were not subjected to any type of tax, any kind of federal tax on the discharge portion of their loans. But with the Department of Education and all of the delays, what the concern was is that borrowers whose loans were discharged into 2026 if they were going to be federally held to pay taxes. So this is what that agreement it speaks about, is that borrowers, as long as you have met the qualifying payments within that 2025 by the 31st of December 2025, then you will not have to worry about your loans being subjected to taxes on the federal end if that loan was actually canceled well into 2026. So the Department of Education agrees to resume student loan forgiveness processing under the terms of the agreement announced on Friday. The Department of Education will resume processing student loan forgiveness, not only under the IBR plan, but also ICR and PAYE plan as well. The department had maintained that student loan forgiveness was not allowable under ICR and PAYE following a court ruling in the SAVE plan litigation earlier this year, but the AFT, so the American Federation of Teachers, had disputed this. All parties had agreed that loan forgiveness under IBR was legal, but the department had contended that it had to pause IBR forgiveness in order to update its internal systems to comply with recent court filings. Under the terms of the agreement with AFT, the department will continue processing loan cancellation for borrowers who are eligible for cancellation under income-based repayment. Processing for loan forgiveness appeared to resume in September when mass emails were received by borrowers notifying them that they qualifying for a discharge. So you have a lot of student loan borrowers who received that letter, those emails stating that their loans will be discharged. They've met the terms of the repayment plan and they will receive student loan forgiveness. In a significant additional provision of the agreement, the department agreed that it will continue processing loan cancellations for borrowers who are eligible for cancellation under the original income contingent repayment, pay as you earn, as long as these plans are in effect. They go into more or less to tell you about under the terms of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The ICR and PAYE will continue to exist until they are sunsetted in July of 2028. Until now, the department had advised borrowers who qualify for student loan forgiveness under ICR and PAYE that they would need to switch to IBR plan to receive a discharge. The department also agreed to continue processing applications for public service loan forgiveness buybacks, although the program continues to suffer from the significant backlogs and delays. This is more or less to tell you about the shielding from the tax liability. Let's scroll down. Court will continue to monitor compliance with student loan forgiveness processing. While the agreement announced on Friday will resolve the immediate issues associated with the legal challenges, it does not formally end the lawsuit. The department agreed to file monthly status reports detailing its progress in implementing the agreement so that the AFT, the court, and the public at large can monitor the department's compliance. Defendants will file 6 status reports that provide public information about certain topics raised in this litigation. Defendant's first status report shall be due 30 days after the current lapse in federal government appropriation ends, and subsequent status reports will be due every 30 days after that. We fully intend to hold them to their word, said Berkman Breen, indicating that the American Federation of Teachers will closely monitor the department's progress in implementing student loan forgiveness under IBR, ICR, PAYE, and PSLF over the course of the next 6 months. So we got some information, and actually some great information, where the American Federation of Teachers are holding the Department of Education accountable. And I hope that with this monitoring that we will start to see more forgiveness processing, and that borrowers will start to see their applications being processed, and things will finally start to get moving as they should, and borrowers will start to get the relief that they are legally entitled to. But we'll keep monitoring it, and I'll come back with more information, and we'll see what happens. All right.